What's up, everybody? We have Marc here, who's part of our accelerator program. Now, Marc does not really do much with sports cards. He does something called sports betting arbitrage that I'll let him talk about. It's something new we added into the program, where basically, long story short, we take the risk out of sports gambling. So it's not really sports gambling. We just take advantage of discrepancies and odds and bonuses with sports gambling books. But I'll let Marc talk about it. Marc, introduce yourself. Where are you from? What's your experience with sports betting and the whole sports world? Give the rundown.
Yeah, thanks so much, Eric, and thanks for having me. So I'm Mark. I live in Queens, New York. Big sports fan. I've had some experience, gambling with two different sports books. Sports book is where you go to gamble and make and place certain bets. I've done okay, but nothing great. Nothing more than the average Joe, win some, lose some, but really never really bet very big because I get for even $20, if I lose $20, I get very emotional and into the game. It was really taking kind of the fun of the joy out of the game.
Yep.
So when I found out about sports arbitrage, I was like, what is this? And it was introduced to me because it's not gambling, it's arbitrage. Gambling is when you bet on one side and you hope that your outcome wins, which is what I was doing. Sports arbitrage is where, regardless of the outcome of the game, doesn't matter if or when the Mets beat the Yankees, because they always do, but it doesn't matter if the Mets would somehow find a way to lose. Either way, you know exactly when you place the bet what you're going to win, regardless if the Mets win or the Yankees win. And I heard that. I was like, whoa, like, how is that possible? And that's really what kind of intrigued me to really find out more information.
Okay, cool. So let's talk numbers. So tell me how much money, I know you started about a month ago, so you've been doing this for a month. How much money did you start with? How much money have you made in profit, and how much time have you invested into doing this?
Great questions. Yes. So I have quite the issue on my hands where I actually did this because I heard about the idea, but also I really had to do something to try and get some supplemental income because which is great. I have a daughter who's 2 and had to get some income quick to help pay for my nanny. Because in New York, everything's very expensive.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of why I also did it. And in my first month, I've made $4,500. And to me, I cannot believe it because I'm just your ordinary Joe, nine to, or really, I work like 50 hours a week at another job. And I doing this, and I'm like, wow, $4,500. And to me, I just still can't believe it. And everything about what this is almost seems too good to be true, but it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. And how much time have you spent doing it?
I've spent last night, for example, made $349. I spent about 15 minutes.
That's a good
And
return on your time.
yeah, like average per night. Um, recently I've been making more money and spending less time. So recently in the past, even like the past week, I've made $2,500
Wow.
and I've been spending way less time. So I'd say the last week I've been averaging, I don't know, maybe 45 to 50 minutes.
That's pretty good.
Actually looking for bets. And then maybe if I'm very, I'm very particular where I want to know where everything's at, very controlling. So I want to know how much money I have in every sports book that I'm a part of. So I'll track that, and that takes about another 10 more minutes at the end of every night.
Okay. Gotcha. So that's definitely not bad. Making $300 in 15 minutes. And so I know you came into this very green, right? You probably understood the basic idea of what betting arbitrage was, but now you really like have done it. You've made money. What, like, how much do you expect to make next month? Out of curiosity.
My goal next month is to make about $5,000 to $6,000.
Cool.
And I
And
see that that's very, very possible.
cool. And I'm curious. So let's call it $5,000. Let's say you make an extra 5 grand a month for the next like 5 months. I know you said you're gonna use it to pay your nanny, which I'm sure is expensive because I'm from the area. I know that stuff. Everything's expensive. The breed it's expensive. But
Water's
what are you gonna do?
expensive too.
Yeah. But adding an extra 60 grand a year to your life, what like are you gonna do with the extra money? Just go to your nanny, go on some extra vacation, just store the money? Like I'm curious.
As soon as I can stop paying the nanny, it's going to be going to my down payment to buy a house.
Nice.
Because in Queens, New York, where I know you're a bit familiar with it, space is small and that space is very expensive.
Yeah.
And I like to go somewhere where I have more space. So that's been a dream and a goal. And so I'm sticking and going as hard as I can to just focus on this and be able to accomplish my goal.
Cool, cool. If you took, let's say you made 5 grand a month from this and you moved to like Florida, you'd be like working from home and just living in a probably a bigger house than Queens.
Absolutely. What's really exciting about this and why it's also possible. So during the day, um, you know, hopefully my bosses don't see that I'm doing this during the day. Uh, but uh, I do a lot of personal finance. And what's really cool about this is so like when you say have like a CD hypothetically, or you have money in a bank, something that's guaranteed conservative, right? You
Yeah.
might get like your 4 or 5% every year. Say you have, $100, you put it in the bank, you get 4%, you have $4, and then it's taxed, right? So you walk away with really nothing. It's a small number, but relatively speaking, that compounds annually. What's really cool about this, which cannot be unsaid, and I want to make sure that it was said, is this money, every time that you make these bets where you know exactly what you're going to make, these arbitrage bets, it compounds daily. So meaning it can compound 365 times versus, or this year, 366 versus one. That compounds, that compounding is so fast. It brings me kind of back to like when I was a kid, where you start off with a penny and you say, okay, great. Well, like, what if I could find someone that could double it? And not saying that you would double your money every day doing this, but hypothetically, you could find someone who could double your money every day. One penny turns into two, turns into four, turns into eight, turns into 16, 32, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by the end of the month, I think you get like $2.5 million as opposed to compounding once a year where it does nothing, doesn't really do much for you. So the
Yep.
power of compounding to this arbitrage is still blowing my mind. I mean, that might be
Yeah.
the biggest thing that I've even taken out of this is how you can make that happen.
Yeah. It's the I see. Here's the thing. I wouldn't compare it to like stocks or investing
No,
because it's not like what you're doing,
no.
right? You invested in yourself, you learned a special skill, and it's a business that makes you X amount of money per month. Like, this is what I always tell people. Like, this is kind of like my sales pitch. Like, if I ever get on a call and it's someone that wants to enter into the program, like, listen, man. If you're enjoying the content of the video and want to learn how to make a side income with sports cards, I spent the past 3 months putting together a training to show you exactly how it's done in detail. Sports cards has allowed me to live a life beyond my wildest imagination, and I'm thankful for the hobby every single day. That is the reason I teach sports cards, and I'm so passionate about it. At the end of the training, we offer a paid program where you can work closer with me. However, I do not want you joining until you've watched the training I put together. It will show you exactly what's inside the program and how to make money with sports cards, and from there, you can make an educated decision. If you'd like to sign up for the training, either scan the QR code on the screen or text the word Eric to 973-755-9486 or click the link in the description.
Just to repeat it, if you'd like to sign up and watch the training, scan the QR code or text Eric to 973-755-9486 or click that link in the description. Now let's get back to the video.
You could take $20,000 right now, save 20 grand. Warren Buffett, the greatest investor of all time, his average annual return was 17%. If I take that 20 grand and make 17% in a year, your life's not changing. You still have to work. You still have probably the same amount of money. Nothing much is changing. But if you learn a business or a skill, something like this, that'll make you 3, 4, 5, 6 grand a month. Now we're talking about something that could actually impact your life. Pay for a nanny, go on more vacations, put a down payment on a house. That it doesn't, investing in stocks or real estate or whatever doesn't do that, right? Those are like, I always say this, like those are normal people things. Normal people put money in the S&P 500 and they make normal people money and they make a normal life. Doing what you're doing is not normal, and you're making not normal money and you're leading towards a not normal life, right? It's not normal to have an extra 5 grand a month coming in, but you do because you have a special skill that you learned. I always tell that to people.
It is. And it's definitely not investing in stocks, nor do I ever would want to say that. Because it's not. What's really cool is, and this is actually something pretty funny, but I've been showing my progress to my wife.
Okay.
And let me tell you, I love my wife and all, but she sees these numbers and she's like, okay, Mark, go do your thing. And she just leaves me alone. So I mean, for a marriage, it's also great too.
Yeah, it is. It's funny because when you like with sports, so like when we teach sports cards, now we teach the sports betting arbitrage stuff, and like I see it all the time. It's a very common thing. Like people will like come into the program thinking about it, they want to do it, they'll ask their wife. And when you go to your wife and you say to them,
Yeah.
I want to buy and sell sports cards and sports gamble, it doesn't come off too well. Only when they see the money come in, then they start to understand. I always tell people, listen, you don't got to tell your wife. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, because your wife is going to look at this like a hobby. Her hobby is going shopping and buying purses for $500. This is not a hobby. This is a business, something that's going to help your wife, help your kids, help your family. So yeah. Well, I'm
And
glad
the really
your
cool
wife's
thing
on board.
about it too is that, you know what? As long as there's games, the more games, the better. But as long as there's sports games, one side has to win, one side has to lose. And there's going to be always sports arbitrage. So that's what's also exciting about it, that you get into the program, you learn the skill, you learn how to do it, the strategies and whatnot, and you can just keep doing it. And like I said, it's not something that you have to spend your entire day doing. You don't have to spend hours upon hours. I mean, you can, but there's also so many games, there's so many bets. And so that's really, it means, couldn't be any more excited, man.
Yeah, I wonder, you know what? Like, because we haven't done this in April. April and May are probably the best time because there's the most amount of games right now. Now you're entering in baseball, and there's a lot of baseball prop bets, and I know a lot of the arbitrage stuff is good with the props. So those March Madness, that's another one. So yeah, I wonder, probably the profits will only go up, and it's only in the right, sports is only getting bigger, just like sports cards are just getting bigger, and there's only going to be more sports books. With more sports books means more arbitrage lines, more bonuses, all this stuff. So yeah, that is some good stuff. But I do appreciate you coming on and telling everybody. Some people watching this probably going to think it's total bullshit because it's too hard to believe, and it is too hard to believe, right? $4,500 your first month in business, but the numbers speak for themselves.
It still feels too good to be true for me, and I've been doing it for a month. But let me tell you, certainly that feeling might happen because you're seeing both lines. And the other day on an arbitrage bet, just $200 on each side, made $20. Like that. I was actually leaving a Panera Bread. I had my laptop, and I was like, okay, like I just want to get going. And I actually clicked on something like by accident. And I saw this. I'm like, oh, like, wait a second. Boom, 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 $20. Great. I just paid for my lunch. So it's like, she's like, I mean, it just blows my mind how awesome and how great this is, because it doesn't seem to be good. Like, it's too good to be true. Like, will the Knicks score 100.5 points tonight? Yes or no? They had to score above 100.5, or they have to score below 100.5.
Yeah. You know yeah, it's crazy. The first arbitrage bet I ever placed was it's like week 16 or something with the Miami Dolphins, and there was a screw up in the sports books, and I actually got like an 8% profit margin. So I made like a few $100s. That was not normal. But yeah, it's amazing. It's like you don't have to think about it, you don't have to risk anything. It's just place this bet on two different sports books. You're just playing the middle and you're making money. Like think about this, like this is like a big comparison, but the best businesses in the world, all they do is play the middle, right? What does Netflix do? They just play the middle between the customer and the people that produce the movies. What does Amazon do? All they do is play the middle, right? The people that sell the products, the people that buy the products. All like the best businesses in the world just play the middle and take a piece, and that's all you're doing just with sports betting.
Well, I mean, to keep it simple too, it's like, and to, like what I was saying too, you're playing the middle. But say you have $1,000, right? And you have 1%, right? So every bet you're making, or every arbitrage bet that you're making, everything's every day you get $10, right?
Yep.
And so you have $10. Then you have $1,010 the next day. Then you get 1% on that. Then you have more, you have more, you have more, you have more, you have more. So you're constantly every day, even that 1% is growing day after day after day. That's what's thinking about the compounding. And then your bets just are getting bigger, which is what's happening to me after just a month. So like when you're asking like how much can I make next month, I'm like, yeah, like I started with $3,000. I found $3,000. And I was like, okay, like what am I gonna do with this $3,000? I'm like, okay, it's gonna cost $30 it's gonna make me $30 a day. Like that's not gonna change my life. And that's when I kept doing it and doing it. I'm like, there has to be another way. And I'm really fortunate to have a great coach. And I was talking to my coach. Can I name drop my coach or?
Yeah, to go for it, Chad.
Chad is awesome. And so I'm like, hey, Chad, like this is great and all. I'm doing these arbitrage bets, but like, what am I doing wrong? Like, and so like we were talking about, okay, like how do I become more aggressive? Like, what can I do better? I need some type of like evaluation. And I said, I have to make X amount more money in X amount more time. He's like, great, here's what we can do. So, I mean, that's what I'm also really finding great about the accelerator program is the ability to have the personalization, the one-on-one coaching, the ability to be able to, just have the customization on, hey, like, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm trying to do. Can you help me go from point A to point B? And so we put together really a plan, and that's really also a lot of the credit goes to Chad. I'm just following his instructions, but that's how I've really kind of accelerated recently how much money that I can make. And because of that, also it's the compounding that now even after a short period of time, I'm really starting to see. So I really encourage anybody listening about this to really think about also. Look, it sounds perhaps too good to be true. But just think about what I'm saying about the compounding and how really important that can be to compound daily as opposed to annually or monthly or anything more than daily.
Yep. When I post this to YouTube, there's many people that comment, "You're just a paid actor."
I'm not getting paid for this. I wish I was, but I'm not.
Well, you got paid $4,500 in profit, which is good.
Yeah.
But all right, cool. Well, Mark, I appreciate you coming on. I'll give this a post to our Discord, YouTube, Facebook group, probably all that good stuff. And hopefully we'll do a call in another few months. You'll be telling me, oh shit, I'm making $8,000 a month. I'm making $10,000 a month.
I look forward to it.
All right, Mark.